I know that you have other books coming out, like the Four Purposes of Life.
Yes.
This is very exciting. It's coming out in April 2011.
Right.
I know this video can be viewed at different times,
Yeah.
but tell us about this book and why you decided to write this book, especially in those challenging times right now that we're facing.
Exactly. That's why I wrote it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a heartfelt project. Yeah, I've written 13 books, and people sometimes ask me, which is your favorite? And I ask them, do you have any children? Sometimes they say, yes, I have 2 children. I go, who's your favorite? And they go, well, I don't really have a favorite. They're different. And that's exactly true with my books. So I can't say one book stands out among all the others, but I will say this. My publisher also said they have a very good feeling about this one, and I do too. The Four Purposes of Life, I think, is going to reach a lot of people. The subtitle is Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World. And who isn't interested in that?
Mm-hmm.
People, college students, wondering, what's next? What am I going to do with my life? What's my calling? What is the right career for me? People who are in midlife crises that could become mid-course corrections. People who are retired. You know, people say, oh, now that I'm retired, I can go golfing and fishing and do this and that I haven't had time for. Well, after about a month of an extended vacation, they go, what next?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think many of us are looking to clarify our lives. What is my purpose? But there's not just one. There are 4 purposes of life, and I define them in the book. Simply put, the first purpose is learning life's lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to escape that. We can have a bad day in life, in a relationship, at work, but we can learn great lessons from it. And it's all about learning. And I go into, now that's not a radically new idea. The idea that the earth is a school and daily life is our classroom, it's nobody slapping their forehead going, oh, who knew?
Mm-hmm.
But the implications are really radical. For example, if life is a school, what courses are we here to take to graduate?
Mm-hmm.
And I go into the 12 required courses we're all taking in life in the book. We've all been studying, but not consciously. And this makes it more clear and conscious.
And conscious is so important to live consciously.
Yeah, to know what we're doing rather than stumbling through the darkness.
Yeah.
So even though life will teach us all we need to learn, a good book, which I hope the 4 purposes will be for people, it can give people a map to learn more from daily life and not have to learn the harder lessons, because they tend to be repeated until we learn them. So that's the first purpose, is learning life's lessons. The second purpose is the one we normally think of our purpose. What is my career or calling? And I differentiate the two. A calling is something our heart is called to. It could be a hobby, something we love doing. Could be in religion or the military or public service. But there are many callings people do. There's something they love. Even if they weren't paid for it, they would do it. Now, a career we mostly think of as a way to get paid, to make a living, to make an income. Sometimes career and calling merge. It has in my case. I've been very fortunate. But that's not necessarily better than someone having a solid career and then pursuing their love outside of work. So that's possible too. One isn't better than the other. But I go into how people can home in on finding the right career for themselves and the right calling.
But isn't that a trend? Some people are more and more looking for a calling rather than a career.
Well, you know, when my first book was published, my agent gave me some good advice. They said, don't give up your day job yet. Don't quit your day job. Because we need a practical way to support ourselves. Many actors will work as waiting tables, for example, because it's flexible. So those who just seek their calling, that may be wonderful, but they could end up starving artists. So it's kind of good to have a calling until a calling takes over and becomes a career. It's a good idea, is one of the many points of practical advice I give in the book, to have a day job, something you can do to keep your life stable and take care of paying the bills. And then you can also pursue your calling. So it's important to work on both of those. There's a lot of practical advice in that arena I give. For example, if someone's an entrepreneur, it's good, you have to be good at 2 things to be successful. One is to be good at what you do. The other is to be good at promoting what you do. Because if people don't know you exist, you can't help them. So both are necessary. So career and calling are the second. And the third, I'm not going to go into in depth now, but it's a mysterious system. Very accurate for helping people clarify their hidden calling. What's beneath the theater of life.
Yeah, what do you mean by hidden calling? I read that and I was quite...
Well, what they're really here to do. So people think, am I here to do this kind of work in the world? Or am I here to have this kind of relationship? But beneath the relationship, the way we pursue relationships, the way we pursue our work, has to do with certain qualities, essential qualities and drives in each of us that are different. And many people, it can take months of therapy or years of meditation to finally know themselves well enough. Well, this gives a very fast, accurate way to access. In fact, people can go to my website right now. They can go click on Life Purpose and look at the Life Purpose Calculator, and it will give some hints, a paragraph's worth of hints about some of the core issues or elements of their life. And they can do that anytime. It's available right now at the website.
That's quite interesting with looking at our issues and our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
Usually that's behind that there's
That's
definitely
right.
a treasure, huh?
That's right. And we're here for different reasons, whether it's self-expression, whether it's to build solid foundations in our life, whether it's for freedom and experience, a breadth of experience, whether it's for vision, seeing what's possible. Some people are here for that. Some people are here for self-trust. That's their major challenge. See, what we're here to do is not what comes easiest. It's the mountain we're here to climb. So I go into that in the third purpose. And the fourth purpose of the four purposes of life has to do, maybe the most important one of all, has to do with our purpose unfolding in this moment. You and I have a purpose right now, is sharing with everyone out there. And that's our purpose in this moment. So each of us has a purpose, moment to moment. And that I go into, which is this arising moment, the fourth purpose of life. Now again, it's not radically new idea. All of us have heard it's good to live in the present moment. But I go into some areas that haven't been addressed in a little more depth in the four purposes of life. And you know, it's funny, at first I was worried, what if I tell people all the four purposes? They'll feel like they've read the book already. But you know, anytime an author describes a book, it's like a menu. It's not the meal.
Yeah.
No matter how detailed the menu is, it's not like eating the meal.
Yeah.
And so the purpose of a good book is to transmit it in such a way it goes deep inside people. It becomes part of them.
Yeah, and I've noticed, and now I think we're really in a paradigm shift too these days, where the more we sharing online, and I see it with authors I interview, you know, the more we're sharing, actually, the more then you want to really marinate in the energy of the book. You want to spend more time with the author. You want more. It's just a natural consequence.
Sure.
Even like ebooks that are circulating. Some are circulating for free, and you're like, oh, maybe I'm missing a share of those revenues. But no, it's actually part of spreading that information. We have to go beyond that, don't we, right now?
Absolutely.
And you teach also some wonderful things about abundance and on money, don't you?
Well, the larger picture of abundance, many teachers do that, so I don't emphasize it. But yes, I certainly do address that. In fact, in those 12 classes in life, one of them is to learn to manage our money and deal with that financial arena in a responsible way to achieve sufficiency and stability in our life, to help us be more creative and so on, rather than worried about where's the next dollar coming from. But not to become obsessed with it either. So there is a balance. It's a dance. It's a dance.
It's a beautiful dance, and it's really, you know, time for a new leadership also. And this peaceful warrior is definitely more than ever needed on this planet, especially with the changing time, as you describe in your latest book.
Right.
Because it seems quite uncertain for a lot of us, and very challenging, very different, not recognizable from anything that we lived in the past. So.
No.
You know, so what is the biggest advice that you have in those kind of turning times and this spiraling time?
You know, I remember from about 25 or 30 years ago, one of the first lectures I ever gave. I had taught gymnastics for years, but this was something very different. And in that first lecture, I remember predicting. I said, we may disagree on a lot of things, but one thing we can all notice, that the pace seems to be accelerating. The energy seems to be building. And that was 25 or 30 years ago. And it's happening more than ever, this curve, this upward curve. So things are changing. And we have to be clear on what we can and cannot control. Because when you try to control what you can't control, it gets very frustrating, crazy making. So the one thing we can control is this moment. We can focus on this moment. We can handle this moment. Mark Twain once said, I've had many troubles in my life, most of which never happened. Because most of our troubles are in the past and future, imagination and memory. So the past and future are nice places to visit, but we don't want to live there. So by focusing on what we're doing in this moment, the moment of reality, is a big help. Also recognizing we have more control over our actions than trying to fix our minds and emotions, as I mentioned, is very helpful. one bit of advice, a reminder I offer in the 4 purposes of life, is that life comes at us in waves. We cannot control the waves. They're going to come as they will, but we can learn to surf. And that's the best thing, is to apply the law of surrender, the law of acceptance. How can I make use of this moment? It's not about passively tolerating injustice or bad things or becoming a doormat. It's about being like a good martial artist. When a force comes at them, they don't resist it, they use it to make it over their way. So by learning to surf the waves, we learn to use them and go for the ride. And that's really the best way to maintain our stability. Because many of us are rocking back on our heels every blow, every new circumstance. How did that happen? Whether it's international news or in our own family.
Especially in our own backyard.
In our own backyard. Sometimes things happen that we don't like. Stress happens in our lives when our mind resists what is.
Yeah.
When we learn to accept what is, we don't have to pretend to like it all the time, but to remember every difficulty, every adversity we face is going to make us a little stronger, a little wiser, maybe even more compassionate, expand our perspectives. And we can all know from the past that's what's happened. So it's good to keep that thread of attention. We don't have to pretend to like it, but we roll up our sleeves and we address it.
Yeah, because in that moment, I guess as an athlete, when you were doing this trampoline and the gymnastics, I guess you get into this moment where you need to tap in this energy, you need to switch, you need to go beyond, you need to open up all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
And it happens in seconds, doesn't it? And we need to learn from people like you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this is a true story. When I was at the World Championships in London, England, at Albert Hall, I was just starting to jump to do my routine. And I won't go into the long story, but I changed the routines. We did many routines that day against different people, like a tennis tournament kind of. And I went up in the air for my first movement, then I did my second movement, then I completely forgot my routine. I had no idea in midair what I was going to do next. And often I could have just landed and stopped, but my body kept going. It just kept going. And I made up the routine as I went along. Anybody who's done trampling knows that's crazy. But I ended up landing the right number of bounces, stopped, and then they said, you won. But that's, we hear about the zone. Many people talk about flow or being in the flow or in the zone. And I get letters from athletes, emails saying, how can I be in the zone all the time? And I go, good luck. I'm not in the zone all the time. I don't know anybody who is. But life is a series of moments, and we can increase those moments when we're in the zone by absorption in whatever we're doing. And I actually go into this in the 4 purposes of life. In the epilogue, I talk about the difference between doing and practicing. Most of us just do things. We do the dishes, we do the laundry.
Automatically.
When we sign our name, we just do it to get it done. The moment we shift to an approach to practicing life, practicing breathing, sitting, speaking, moving, signing our name, whatever we do, we begin to practice to see if we can refine it, if we can do it a little better than last time. And it pulls us into the moment. We become absorbed. For one of my earlier books, my publisher sent me in a box, before they'd put the book together, 4,000 first pages of the book. So I had 4,000 first pages. They said, would you please sign these? So I spent about 2 days, like a meditation, signing my name to one first page, taking a breath, taking the second page, signing that, 4,000. And again, it's like a meditation. But because I was trying to make my signature a little smoother each time, it seemed to work out.
So you deepen that as a practice. You make everything a practice then.
Rather than just get it over with.
Yeah.
And I don't do it perfectly. People have asked me, Dan, have you mastered all that you teach? And the answer is no.
No, we're all in the same boat.
But I'm practicing sincerely.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, that's for sure.
Yes.
But if I weren't at least a good example, not a perfect one, but a good one, I wouldn't have any point in teaching. So I have to practice very sincerely in order to speak with some authority.
So you've been very inspired by Buddhism or Zen practices, haven't you?
I have.
To some degree, it sounds like quite...
I get letters from Christian mystics, from rabbis, from Buddhists, from Taoists, from Sufis, people in every religion, and they say, "Oh, you must be connected with our thing." And I'm a member of none but a friend to all. This approach is not an alternative to somebody else's religion. I respect all traditions. It's to help people to do what they do even better, to be more heartfelt in their approach to Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, whatever they do. But there are elements of Zen, certainly, that have influenced my work, and Sufism and everything else, really.
So now what are you working next? What are you looking at? Where are we going to see some more movies, some more books? I know you're working on, you just, I mean, it's the four purposes of life is going to come out, but what is next? What are you excited about? What is juicy in your life?
What's juicy in my life? It's always something. This moment is juicy. I mean, that's always the moment. But to project ahead, it's an oft-used metaphor, but writing a book is very much like giving birth. There's the conception, there's gestation, there's labor of birthing, there's then the birth announcements. So first it's art, then it's commerce. So now I'm focusing on getting the birth announcements out and letting people know about the four purposes of life. So I need to conscientiously do diligence, spend time letting people know about my new book.
So traveling.
If they're interested. Traveling, I'll be traveling here and abroad. And then I can't wait to get into my next project because it's really pushing me. It's going to have elements I've never taught before. And that's what justifies a new book. People have been waiting for 20 years for it's going to be related to my first story. I don't want to give the title yet, but that's going to be a new book. And then I'll work on the memoir, which will be...
so that's not the memoir part?
No, not the memoir. After that will be the memoir about a search, about the spiritual path, about the search for whatever that is people are seeking. Different people would phrase it different ways. So I don't want to label it right now, but it's not just, I don't presume people just want to read about me, but they may want to read about a very interesting map of the spiritual journey and the four major mentors I've had in my life and what that represents.
And so when you're traveling like that, what are the practices and how you put those practices in place? Because we know about this with the team, traveling around, and then you have to find really the time to, when you're outside of your home, to continue doing that and not dropping everything. So
exactly. Do
you have recommendations for
I do.
that?
I certainly do. Very good question. Look, we're all aware that to be healthy, it's good to do some regular moderate exercise. It's good to eat a fairly balanced diet and to get enough rest. All those things become more challenging on the road. And I do travel a lot, as you do. I created a workout for myself, and also I shared, we have a DVD, and people can get it online at my website, but it's called the Peaceful Warrior Workout.
Excellent.
I've done this workout. I've done it every day for the last 26 years. Every day. Well, there was actually 2 days I had a bad flu. I might have hallucinated doing it, but almost every single day for the last 26 years. This workout is a flowing movement, deep breathing, and tension release. It's like a yoga. But it's
Qigong?
Elements of Qigong, elements of gymnastics, element of dance. It has different elements. It's based on all my experience, but the key to this workout is it's designed to be completed, start to finish, in less than 4 minutes a day.
Oh.
It's based on the principle, a little of something is better than a lot of nothing. So when I'm on the road, no matter where I am, I've done this on airplanes, I've done it in small hotel rooms, even with a little space. In 4 minutes, you can get your whole body opened up, moving, deep breathing. And obviously, I do more. I went this morning, what did I do? I went for a bike ride this morning. Yesterday, I hiked in the hills. So I do other things as well. At 65, I'm 65 years old.
You
now.
are not.
Yeah. I've had to moderate, what I do, but I still keep a balanced approach to exercise. But the key then is, how do you do it on the road? Keep it simple.
Yeah.
We're more likely to do simple. I sometimes joke with people. They say, do you meditate regularly? And I say, absolutely, at least 15 seconds every day. But the truth is, I usually do about 5 minutes, sometimes a little longer. But I do it every day, no matter where I am. I'm going to have some very original insights, I think, into meditation in my next book. So that's one of the reasons I'm writing it. But this is how we keep balanced.
Yeah, and it seems also
keep it simple.
Keep it simple, and that other piece is really creating. It seems like you're saying also, what I'm hearing is setting micro intentions, so that we're really into the present moment, and that's important too.
Exactly. What do I want to do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. A man named Shoma Morita once said, when running up a hill, it's okay to give up as many times as you want, as long as your feet keep moving. And that's my approach to life. A lot of things go on in here in my head. Emotions are changing like the weather all the time. But I focus on, what will I do next? What am I going to do right now? And that will, in large extent, shape our lives.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this moment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there something else that we maybe have missed or haven't asked you about that you
That
think
felt
is
like
really...
a perfect spot. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, all my beautiful co-creators. This is another juicy conversation, this time with Dan Millman. This is extraordinary to spend this time with you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
For sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah. And I like your crew here, too.
To Pete, Celine, and Sergey.
Yes.
Much love. Bye-bye.